It's like a big, flat, protruding honeycomb coming from the mountainside. And then eventually they cut it off and they lower it down. The people on the bottom then collect the honey and they can start to process it. There's a couple things that are interesting here. One is like the collection process, which is dangerous and just kind of unbelievable. I mean, one of the scariest, you see all these bees here. I had to wear the bee hat. Nobody messes around. Everyone wears the bee hat. As soon as they get the smoke going, these bees go insane. And you see thousands of bees stinging the shit out of everything and everyone, trying to get through people's clothing. And, you know, when bees sting, their stinger comes out.
Right.
So it's all just a kamikaze mission for all these different bees.
And so all these people are getting stung.
So they had the appropriate clothing.
But their hands.
My guide, who wasn't used to being there, got about 4 bees inside the hat, and that's never what you want. And so their solution was to reach to his hat inside the net and pinch the bees inside, rather than trying to get them out. They just killed him inside.
Oh.
And so when they got the honey, for example, you can see here they're dumping it out of the basket. There's going to be tons of bees and honey mixed together. When I flew my drone there, I landed the drone and it was wet with bee body parts. I must have shredded 1,000 bees just with my drone.
Wow.
So they are on the defense. And before you go there, before you put the smoke, the honeycomb is black because it's completely covered by the bees. But after the smoke comes up, it reveals the actual yellow honeycomb underneath. So that's one interesting aspect to this. But
so the smoke is to try to calm down these bees, right?
To repel them, to make them leave.
So how do they do that? They start fires at the base of the cliff?
Yes. And these guys are so badass. They know how to start a fire and basically put it into a makeshift backpack and then carry it up.
Boy.
So they're carrying smoke on their back and then dumping it at the base of the cliff. And then the smoke goes up and then the bees go insane from there.
Is it because the bees know? Are they accustomed to people trying to steal their honey?
I do think it puts them in a defensive mode, but also just like a lot of insects don't like smoke. So it's like they know they have to leave because there's smoke, but they want to protect the hives at all costs. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is the hallucinogenic, lightheaded effects that are purported to come from eating the honey. So how does that happen? The bees collect, I forget if it's nectar or pollen, from certain types of flowers that grow there locally. And these flowers have some kind of chemicals inside. It creates a neurotoxic effect in your brain when you eat it. So I interviewed a villager. This is why I want to build up a little bit so you can see how gung-ho about trying the honey you still are, but I think we should still absolutely do it together.
Okay.
I went to a villager there. I was thinking everyone's just going to be jacked up on honey all the time, and it's a great time. And so I talked to this guy. He was the one who owned the cliff where the honey is. And I said, how often do you do it? He goes, I did it 20 years ago. That's the last time. I said, can you walk me through the experience? He said, I took a lot, and I couldn't walk for 24 hours. I said, oh, you couldn't walk. Okay, that's pretty extreme. I've heard similar stories from people while I was there, and it seemed interesting because at least in the village I went to, I know it's different in different parts of Nepal, but at least where I went, people seemed like, yeah, I've done it and I'm good. And they didn't really want to do it much more.